Cooper, and I'm going to be talking about business app marketplaces, how to get started with them, how to succeed with them. This has been an area of business, professional interest of mine for a long time, well, in my previous role, I had some success in business app marketplaces with this product, Wishery. Wishery's a sort of a Gmail gadget for CRM. It brings business contact information out of various business systems like email marketing, e-commerce, document collaboration, right into the email client, into Gmail, so that business users who are emailing with people outside their companies can get a more holistic view of the person they're emailing with. Is this person on my mailing list? Have they purchased from me? Are they on my VIP customer list? Without having to go and actually search for all that information. Wishery brings it in real time right into the email client. So that little turquoise area down there, that is Wishery. It's inside of Gmail. In this case, it's telling the person who's looking at this that the sender of this message is not subscribed to a given mailing list. And if you wanted to add them to that mailing list, you could do so right here inside your email client. So that was Wishery, or is Wishery. So Wishery, we integrated with 5 different business applications. We got #1 ranked or featured on all 5 of the B2B app marketplaces that we are in. Some weeks over 100 companies would start signing up for Wishery, and the B2B app marketplaces were the only distribution channel. Most of our signups never came to our website. They just came to these marketplaces and signed up. That's a new kind of business software buying behavior that didn't exist a few years ago and is becoming much more prominent, which is why I'm giving this session, because I believe this is the future. And we had a great upgrade to paid rate. Wishery's a freemium product. 20% upgrade to paid is very strong in the freemium land. So in this talk, and in B2B app marketplaces in general, it's less about consumer apps, it's less about mobile apps, it's a little bit less about downloaded apps, though not strictly. It's a bit more about freemium and free trial SaaS applications for business, but the lines are really blurring. So Windows 8, for example, Windows 8 will have an app store. The Windows 8 app store will be for all of these things: mobile, consumer, business, downloaded, web software. They're all going to be in one app store. Some of the other app stores are having this kind of unification of audiences. Others kind of keep them fragmented. For instance, Apple has a Mac OS app store for desktop apps and an iOS app store for mobile apps. They are 2 totally separate, totally independent app stores. Windows 8 will have one app store for both of those things, plus others. So the space it changes. So let's check some terminology first, just because there's a lot of players here. A publisher, at least in this talk, a publisher is the person that has an app that has an app store. An ISV is the person that has an app that's going to list it on an app store. Now, of course, the ISVs are also publishers, I understand, and of course, publishers might be ISVs. But just to keep things clear, I'll try to stick to publisher. They have the app store. They have an app that has an app store. ISV, they have an app that wants to be on the app store. So what are these things? Well, here's some examples. Here's the Shopify App Store. Shopify is a popular e-commerce platform. Shopify users can extend their Shopify accounts, apps, with other apps that they acquire at the Shopify App Store. The Google Apps Marketplace is one of the larger B2B app marketplaces. This is for users of Google Apps. Google Apps is a business version of sort of Google's products, Gmail, document sharing, other things. By the way, if you don't use Google Apps in your business internally, I highly recommend you check it out. It's free for up to 10 users. It's very powerful, works great, and if you ever want to get into the Google Apps Marketplace, you need to know what the heck Google Apps is about, so you might as well know it from a user perspective. This is one of the most popular B2B app marketplaces. Some other big ones include the Salesforce app marketplace, been around for a long time. The MailChimp integration directory, different name, integration directory, fundamentally the same thing. A place where MailChimp, email marketing software users, go to get things to extend their MailChimp application. So why be in these B2B app marketplaces? These are sort of the key reasons. First, you want to be where buyers are shopping. And increasingly, business software buyers are shopping for their software in the app marketplaces. Remember I said that most Wishery installers never came to our website. They weren't shopping on the web in general. They were shopping in a particular store. If you're not in the store, they will not find you, period. So SEO, I'll show you some examples of how being in these app marketplaces can actually help your web search results. So even if they are searching on the web, an app marketplace can help you in that. You may get enhanced conversions to paid if you have a freemium offering. Co-marketing can occur. Some of these app marketplaces, in fact, all of them are going to be bigger companies than yours. They'll have better reach, but they can talk about your product and get the name and the product out there. You might get free money. I'll talk about that in a second. And also, I really think this is the future. This is the way that software will be bought in the future. Mobile phones, Apple and Google are training everybody to buy their consumer mobile software in mobile app marketplaces, right? Nobody goes to a Google search and a website to buy an app for their iOS phone. They go to the Apple app marketplace. All of those folks who buy those apps work in companies, and when they're in the companies, they're also buying software for their businesses. They're going to use that same buying behavior in the future if they aren't already, so you need to come to where the market is. So here's about discovery. This is the homepage of the Google Apps Marketplace. Wishery got to be ranked, featured right on the home page. The moment you show up to this marketplace, you see Wishery right there on the home page of the marketplace. So if they're shopping, we have a prominent position here. And you can too if you follow my 10 simple steps. SEO. Here's a search for Wishery, the name of the product. Now, luckily, we got #1 ranked for our own website, so that's good, right? That's helpful. But check out these other 2 rankings. The middle one is on the Google Apps Marketplace, and the third one's on the MailChimp integration directory. 3 different rankings, 3 different Google placements, all for the same product, but I wouldn't have 2 and 3 if I wasn't in those marketplaces. Somebody else would, and there's this DJ that remixes Disney videos and songs, and the DJ is named DJ Wishery, and so unfortunately probably DJ Wishery would have all of the rankings if we weren't in these app marketplaces, which in turn get us rankings on the Google Apps Marketplace.
Why don't you have the LinkedIn profile? Isn't that you, #4?
It is, but it's not an app marketplace. Wishery exists on LinkedIn, and yeah.
So you're only.
So we would have had that LinkedIn ranking whether or not we had app marketplace placements, but we wouldn't have had Google Apps or MailChimp. This is some interesting data that came out, and when you download these slides, you can click on these links, so don't worry about copying them down. GQs is a app in the Google Apps Marketplace, but you can also get it other places. You can just go to the GQ's website. They released this data that showed that users that signed up for GQs on the Google Apps Marketplace were much more likely, 5x more likely, to upgrade to paid than users who signed up for GQs on GQ's own website. Why? I don't know for sure. I mean, it seems like similar user audiences, right? They're businesses. But I've seen this data from others as well, that users who get freemium products from B2B app marketplaces are more likely to upgrade than if they get them directly from your website. Yeah?
One of your first slides mentioned 20% up. I don't know if it was at the bottom. What was that 20%?
That's,
is that this same sort of thing?
yes, exactly. So Wishery has experienced a 20% upgrade to paid rate. So our free users upgrade at 20% rate to the paid version of the software. GQs got a 30% rate for signups in the Google Apps Marketplace, but only 6% rate for signups from their own website. So they tracked the users where they originally signed up and then measured how likely they were to upgrade.
How is the free version limited? Is it time limited or feature limited?
In Wishery or in general?
In Wishery?
It's feature limited. There's some features that aren't in the Pro version that make it more useful. But your freemium mix is up to you, and also it doesn't have to be freemium. Free trial works great. In fact, most listings in these B2B app marketplaces, they're not freemium, they're free trial. Try it out for 2 weeks, and if you want to keep using it, pay. And if you don't pay, you get nothing, right? In the freemium world, if you don't pay, you get less, but not nothing. Most B2B app marketplace listings are, in fact, free trial, not freemium. Co-marketing. Here's the MailChimp blog. Big audience. MailChimp has 1.3 million users, something like that. MailChimp on their own blog talks about Wishery, the product. We would not get this blog mention if we were not integrated with MailChimp and in the MailChimp integration directory. Simple as that. Why would they bother blogging about somebody who's not in their integration directory? They've got plenty of people to choose from in there. You also might get things like this. Here's MailChimp tweeting about Wishery. MailChimp has 60,000 followers on Twitter. I think that's right. Just this one tweet increased traffic to the Wishery website 10x. In like literally minutes after this tweet came out, we've seen 10x of normal website traffic. Again, you will not get this tweet if you're not in the B2B app marketplace. You might get free money. Shopify, MailChimp, BigCommerce, they've all announced integration funds where you can apply and get written free money, a check, not an investment, to integrate your software with theirs. Wishery got $6,000 from MailChimp in 2 different $3,000 checks. $3,000 to come out with our initial product, and another $3,000 to add some features to it that MailChimp liked. Shopify's app fund, we didn't get money from, but it works a little differently. It's a little bit more of a loan. And BigCommerce offered us $2,000, but we ended up not taking it. Even if there is no integration fund announced, you should always ask, is there any budget available to help me, a small ISV, build this awesome integration that your users are going to love? There very well may be. And as I mentioned earlier, this is the future of app buying, right? There's the Mac desktop app store. There's Google Play, which is for Android apps. There's mobile app stores. There's the Windows 8 app store, right? The folks next door are hearing about Windows 8 app store. That'll be out by the end of the year, and I believe Microsoft will be heavily promoting it. If you're not in the Windows 8 app store, you will have a harder time reaching Windows 8 users, or conversely, if you are, it may be a lot easier. So how do you do it? 10 easy steps, but 10 and 11 are both profit, so maybe it's only 9 easy steps. First, you want to scan. Build a list of all of the applicable marketplaces, all the applicable things with which you could integrate. So you might want to start off just with a category and then drill down into particular publishers. Let's see, Dave, I was speaking with you at breakfast. You have a screen capture app. So with whom might you want to integrate? Well, Google Drive and the various online file systems, Dropbox, Google Drive, there's a bunch of other ones. That might be a category, right? Your desktop software does a screen capture and directly saves it to Dropbox instead of sort of intermediary. That might be an interesting integration for you. So you look at your software, its kind of capabilities, and where could it integrate? I've got a resource link at the end of the presentation with over 150 potential integration points, over 150 publishers with links to their websites and to their app marketplaces and some details on their size. You're wanting to seek here kind of your minimum initial effort. How much work is it going to be for you to actually pull off this integration? Most of these app marketplaces do in fact require some connection between your software and theirs. They're not just a curated listing, right? You can't just say, hey, put up a listing, like Yahoo years ago. That was just a curated listing of what's on the web, right? No, in these ones you actually have to form a connection, a technical connection. But some of them are much harder than others, so try to get a sense. Also, audience appeal, like is your software going to appeal to that audience or not? There's some feasible integrations where it's like the appeal doesn't make much sense. But don't worry too much about that or the addressable market size. If you have a very niche application and you think that the users of your application or potential users are also using that other thing, so you've got software for dentist offices. Do dental offices market via email marketing, and would they use MailChimp? Yeah, probably. Are there a lot of dental offices among 1.3 million MailChimp users? No, it's probably a very small fraction. But you can address with your software all of the dental offices within MailChimp. So that's probably one to consider. If there's some addressable market issue, having a hard time thinking of an example, just think about sort of how many customers could you reach. Now, of the ones that look good, go do a deep dive. First, take the kind of the publisher customer's perspective. Can you get to the marketplace? Is it promoted? Become a customer of the publisher. Oh, you're thinking about integrating with MailChimp? Sign up for MailChimp. Please, God, sign up for MailChimp, right? I see this all the time on the publisher developer support lists, where developers are asking questions and the publishers are saying, well, did you try out our software already? Have you signed up and started using it? Sometimes people haven't, right? Don't even start this process until you've signed up. A lot of these things are either free trial or freemium, so it may cost you nothing to try out the thing with which you might integrate. Sorry if that's obvious, but I see people miss it. And then take kind of your ISV perspective. What's the support you're going to get from the publisher for marketing, for developing, and also what are the terms and conditions here of the relationship? They vary pretty widely. Windows 8 app marketplace is probably going to be something like a 30% revenue share, and maybe that declines with volume. The big consumer app marketplaces like the iOS and Mac app marketplace, I think they're also 30%. Salesforce app marketplace, I believe, is around 15%, but it's negotiable. Google Apps Marketplace used to say it might be 20%, but we haven't started it yet. Then recently they came out and said, forget all that, we're never going to charge you anything. It's free to be in our marketplace. Most of the not mega publisher app marketplaces are free to participate in. But Shopify charges, I don't know, most of the other ones don't. But make sure you understand that. One important thing you need to understand is the way customer information does or doesn't flow to you. So this is a strange thing in the Mac desktop app marketplace. If somebody buys your app, your downloadable app through the Mac app marketplace, you don't actually know who they are. Apple doesn't tell you. They don't give you their name or their email address. Somebody told me this. I understand it to be true. That's a problem if you want to market to them. Yeah?
How do you support that? Where if somebody emails you and say, I got your product, how do you verify that?
I'm sure Apple gives you some sort of tool that you can check to see.
Number maybe or something.
Yeah, something like that. But prior to them contacting you, you have no way of contacting them. So you've got a new free feature, you want to conduct a survey, whatever you want to contact your customers for. In some of these app marketplaces, the marketplace publisher will come between you and your customer. Is that a price you're willing to pay? It may be if that's the entry fee to get into the Mac app marketplace. Maybe it's worth it. Most of the smaller ones don't do this. You get to have a direct relationship. So here's some examples of how prominent or not the app marketplaces are. So Shopify's homepage, before you've done anything in Shopify, a Shopify customer is considering signing up for Shopify. And I'm here above the fold, so this is all I see on a normal screen. In the screen itself, you'll see, let's see, fully customizable, doesn't really call out directly that there's integrations, but as soon as I click on the resources link, you'll see the app stores right there. So this is somewhat prominent, I'd say. But once you become a Shopify user, the app marketplace is incredibly prominent. This is the login screen. Every time as a Shopify app store owner, you're selling stuff online and Shopify is your e-commerce platform. Every time you log into Shopify, Shopify says, hey, there's some apps you should add. This is very good for publishers here. This is very good for ISVs here. This is very prominent placement. Now, if you're not one of those 3 featured placements, of course, it's not quite as good, but still, at least there's traffic coming to the app marketplace where they might find you. If you see something like that, my number one question to the publisher is, how do I get into one of those slots? I want to be there. I want to be shown to every user when they sign in. I'll tell you how you probably get there, because for most of these apps, it's the same. Here's Constant Contact. Oh, sorry.
Well, what is the Shopify business model? How do they get a piece of the action?
It's a per month fee, and I don't think they take a percentage of sales. I think it's just a sort of tiered $15, $50, $100 per month, I think based on the size of your store, something like that. So, but Shopify users are all store owners. So if you have an app that deals with anything related to e-commerce or marketing to e-commerce customers, then that's a potential integration candidate. That might be a good place to look. What does your app do?
Not related to that.
Okay. So here's Constant Contact's logged in page. So the moment you log into Constant Contact, which is another big email marketing service around the same size as MailChimp, this is what you see. I don't love this, frankly, from an integration perspective. Like, that's all it is. Apps and services way up there in the corner. It's pretty small. I'm logged in. Like, in the login process, on the login page, there was no check out these apps. And even now, once I'm logged in, there's still no check out these apps. So from an ISV perspective, this isn't quite as good. And I can tell you, Wishery integrated with MailChimp and Constant Contact around the same customer sizes, but much different behavior in terms of supporting ISV integrators. Wishery saw something on the order of 25 times the number of signups from MailChimp than we did from Constant Contact. Even though their customer bases are similar size, the appeal of our app is similar to their customer base. It's like everything was controlled for, right? The main difference was the extent to which the publisher promoted the integrations. MailChimp does a lot of it, and Constant Contact does virtually none. And the result was radically lower install rate from Constant Contact. Trying to ascertain that before you do the integration work, that's the phase we're in right now, right? That's in our 9-step phase. That's the phase we're in. Roughly trying to get an idea of how many people can you sign up once you do this integration work, or at least not absolute numbers, but relative. I think I'm going to integrate with one or the other of these things. Which one do I think is going to produce more signups? Well, this one, I can tell you already, is going to not produce as many signups as this one. It's just way more prominent. Even if you're not one of those three, you're going to get more signups here because the publisher is pushing its integrations much harder to its users than this publisher is. Okay, you've picked a few that you think you want to work with, right? So now you want to engage with the publisher. Get in touch with the, sorry, that should say publisher, not host. Get in touch with the publisher. Get feedback on your app, on your integration plans. Tell them, send them some screenshots. They usually have either a dedicated person or even a dedicated team to help potential integrators. Now, the smaller the company, the less likely they'll have a dedicated resource. But even very small companies I've seen recently are bringing on board dedicated folks just to work with the integration community, just to work with ISVs to bring connections in. So figure out who that person is and get in touch. Send them ideas, tell them what you think you're going to do, ask for their feedback. Is this interesting to your users? Is somebody else doing this? Has somebody else done this? You know, maybe they already had one of the things that you were going to do and it didn't work and they pulled out of their marketplace. Be good for you to know that, but you won't find out till you ask. Also, you know, ask for details. How many visitors, how many customers do you have? How many visitors do you have to your app marketplace? What are the most popular apps? How do I get ranked? You might as well just keep asking, oh, can you write me a check? Is there any free money available, right? Keep asking questions. There's no harm at this in asking too much, right? Some stuff they won't tell you. Competitive reasons, they very well may not tell you the visitors to their app marketplace, but you might as well ask. And ask for commitments. If I publish this, can you promise me a blog post? Can you promise me a few tweets? Can we do a case study together? Can you help me get access to one of your customers that uses the product, and we'll do a case study that goes on your website? Ask for commitments, and of course ask about the free money. Now you can kind of prioritize, right? You've probably had this this engagement with a few different publishers, and you could prioritize. Who's at the top of your list? Now, who's the most likely candidate? You probably want to start with the most likely one. And you may, of course, want to be engaging with multiple publishers at the same time. But you'll see in a minute, there's one thing that you cannot do simultaneously. But at this point, you can be sort of reviewing different publishers all at the same time. It doesn't take a lot of work to do this. Hopefully you're keeping track of it on a spreadsheet. So you can now go on to building. One's come out at the top, you're going to start building. Start with the minimum sort of level of integration that isn't lame, right? So Dave, you've decided you want to integrate with Dropbox and Google Drive and SkyDrive from Microsoft and a few others, right? And you want to be able to save screen captures to them and, I don't know, read them back out so they can be edited. Well, maybe just start with one and start with just saving, right? Just sort of write. No read access, just writing to them, and just one of them. Maybe you decide Dropbox is good, or maybe you actually decide Google Drive's better because even though it's sort of newer, it's getting much more promotion from Google than than Dropbox is promoting its integrations, right? So pick one and build sort of the minimum. If you're new to integrations, particularly if you're new to integrations with SaaS applications, this first time is going to be tough. There's going to be a lot of new tech you have to learn. APIs, OAuth is the way that apps authenticate to each other. This stuff is going to be tricky the first time around. Luckily, a lot of the web app vendors, publishers, are converging on similar or identical technology. So authentication is an interesting area. For your app to talk to the other app kind of on behalf of the user of the other app, the user of the publisher's app needed to authenticate in some way to your app. The way they used to do it, the worst way, was they would get their username and password from the publisher's app and type them into your app, and you now are responsible for securely storing the username and password of the publisher's app, right? And maybe they go change the password on the publisher's site and they have it changed at yours and the integration breaks and they holler at you, and right, that just sucked. Luckily, everybody's converging on OAuth. OAuth, you just store a token that says that your app is allowed to connect to the publisher's app. Now, OAuth's harder to integrate than just storing a username and password. It's a little harder to build, but the user experience is vastly better. And once you've figured out OAuth and you kind of understand it, you'll probably be able to do OAuth integrations with other publisher apps much easier.
I see a lot of sign-ins with Facebook.
Uh-huh.
Are you seeing any interest in that in B2B marketplaces?
Yeah, so that's kind of a single sign-on approach, right? And yeah, absolutely. And OAuth actually, in some cases, gives you a single sign-on. So in the Google Apps Marketplace, one of the only technical requirements for an integration for being listed in the Apps Marketplace, the Google Apps Marketplace, is that you support single sign-on. That when somebody is signed into their Google Apps account, they can get to your app with just a click, no extra username or password. Right? That's accomplished with single sign-on. When they get sent over to your app, Google sends them over with some credentials saying, hey, this person is legit and they are who they say they are and you should let them in and don't hassle them. That's single sign-on. Facebook is the same thing, right? Sign into an app with your Facebook credentials instead of with that app's own credentials. Yeah, single sign-on is absolutely the future. You have to do it. And you know, for some of these apps, it's a requirement, like Google Apps. For others, it's sort of recommended. Like Shopify, I don't think requires it, but I think they would like it, I think. So, yes.
Well, so in your opinion, then Facebook would be appropriate for these B2B?
No, definitely not. No, the Facebook sign-in mechanism is the same as the Google Apps sign-in mechanism, or sign-in with Twitter, or sign-in with whatever. Whenever you're on somebody else's site and you see sign-in with something that isn't that site's thing, that's some form of single sign-on, OAuth, OpenID.
So it's the single sign-on that's similar to
Yeah.
Facebook.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, in fact, Facebook is strictly not appropriate, right? It immediately sets up a non-business context. Don't bother building sign-in with Facebook into your business app. It's just sends the wrong message, right? All of a sudden, your business app data is, the user's fearing, God, my business app data is about to get shared to Facebook. I don't know what this thing is, right? Don't bring up that fear. Just don't even go there.
So is there any chance that LinkedIn would have such a mechanism someday?
Yeah, possibly, though I've heard that working with LinkedIn from an integration perspective is not good. They had sort of an integration program and then they pulled back on it. They don't accept new integrations right now. I don't think they have an easy single sign-on thing, so probably not right now. But I guarantee that's going to change. The reason they pulled back is because they want to do it, but the first way they did it wasn't working so well. I know they are feverishly working internally to make it work better the next time. At some point in the future, I'm certain they will announce some sort of LinkedIn app marketplace, and they will welcome all of you publishers. And at that point, that's when to reconsider integrating with LinkedIn. If it makes sense. It may not make sense, but they will be back. Okay, so you built it, right? Now you need to test and tune it. As much as possible, try to have a closed beta, right? Don't test in public if you can avoid it. But sometimes you do need to have a bit of an open beta. Here at the bottom, Shopify recently announced a new category in their app store, the beta category. I haven't seen this in other app stores, but if you're a Shopify customer and you want to live on the bleeding edge, you can go to the beta category and try out apps that aren't fully released yet. That's pretty cool. And as an app developer, that's helpful to have people that are willing to beta test your stuff, particularly when they know it's beta, right? That might be broken, it's not going to work very well. Great. What you're really trying to avoid here is beta testing your app after you've launched it. That's not good, and you'll see why in a second. You definitely are going to need some sort of a reset button so that you can simulate the new user experience. There's a lot of steps sometimes in getting your app from one of these app marketplaces. So if you go to Shopify and you want to sign up for Wishery, there's something like 9 screens on 3 different publishers' websites that you have to step through before you become a Wishery customer. You're on the Shopify site, and then you're on another Shopify screen, and then you're on a Wishery screen, and then you're on a Google Apps Marketplace screen, and then another Google Apps Marketplace screen, and then 3 more Wishery screens, and now you're a Wishery user, something like that, right? There's a lot of handoff going on, there's a lot of steps. You need to be able to test that process, because the first experience users have with your app is the sign-up process. It's not actually using it, it's signing up for it, getting it. And probably the first time you do this, something will be broken and it won't work very well. And you need to be able to keep going through that sign-up process as a new user. And to do that, you have to have some sort of reset procedure. In Wishery, the reset procedure involved a few different things. We had to delete the user's data from our own database. We had to, the test user had to delete Wishery from their Google Apps dashboard. We also had to clear the browser cache because there was some install data that we stored in the browser cache. Were those the 3 things? Yeah, those 3 things. We never fully automated those, but at least we got it down to 3 steps. We had a reset button in our admin dashboard, and then reset browser and delete from Google Apps dashboard. And now we could show up again with the same account, right? We had a bunch of test accounts. We can show up with a test account into the Google Apps Marketplace and say install Wishery, and we're getting a brand new clean user experience. You need to have some way of simulating that so that you can keep stepping through the install process as a new user until you're happy with it. Well, until it works and until you're happy with it. At this point, try to that person who you talk to at the sorry, again, that should say publisher, not host. The person you talk to at the publisher early on saying, hey, is my app good, and is there free money? At this point, try to be considerate of their time. Don't ask them a ton of crazy questions. Hopefully they have a developer mailing list, and that's a good spot for crazy questions. Use their documentation, read through the examples, get support from other developers if you can. All right, now you're ready to launch. Before you launch, you often need to pass a review. You often need to submit your app to the publisher. Sometimes you have to pay. Usually it's a nominal amount. Google Apps Marketplace is $100. The Chrome App Store, which is a more general one, not for business users, I think it's only $15. Salesforce is a lot, $1,500. I've heard of some other ones that are $5,000 or more. Those are for big business apps. But most folks are converging on nominal, just to keep out the riffraff. So you pay, you say, all right, I'd like my app to be reviewed. They'll go through a bunch of checklists. Normally all that stuff is public, so you can go through the same checklist before you submit. And you'll either pass review or not. If you don't worry about it. They'll usually tell you what you need to fix, and it's probably something pretty minor if you've done a good job in the previous steps. Launch quietly, right? You've passed review, your thing is now on the app marketplace. Don't go promoting it, don't go soliciting a bunch of installs. Let it just be there for a little while. At this point, this is where you're now getting real-world users, not your invited beta customers. Folks are going to think of all sorts of crazy ways to break your thing. They're going to have stuff that you hadn't anticipated. Provide incredible support at this point. You know, I said earlier there's a place where you need to not do things in parallel. This is one of them. Don't launch in 2 places at once. All your attention needs to be on one launch. This period may only be for a few weeks at the most. So it's not a big period of time, but basically every individual person that signs up, email them, say, hey, how was the sign-up process? Any problem comes in, anybody emails you, make sure your support's very available. Oh, so sorry you had trouble with that, let me get that fixed for you. This is an important step because a bad launch will get you bad reviews and an unhappy publisher. And bad reviews are a major problem, particularly when they're your first reviews. Which is why this is all quiet and you have great support and you've done all that testing ahead of time. So now you're launched, now you're caring about reviews and ranking in these app marketplaces. That previous thing was kind of your most important once activity, launch. This is your most important ongoing activity, thinking about your reviews and your ranking. proactively ask for great reviews. Figure out when it is your users have had a great experience. Hopefully there's some way you can tell remotely, right? Dave, maybe they've done 5 screen captures and uploaded them all to Google Drive, and in your logs you see no errors of any sort, right? That might be a good point to send them an email, either manually or automated, saying, hey, looks like you're having a great time. If you're having any issues, don't leave a bad review. Get in touch. Here's my phone number. If you are loving the product, we would love a great review. Click here to leave one, and make sure that link goes straight to where they can leave a great review. Ask specifically for a 5-star review or a 7-star, or however many stars you can get. Ask for it. These are really, really important. You're going to want to measure and monitor your rankings and your reviews. Most of these marketplaces will not tell you. They won't email you saying somebody's left a new review. Change detection is a great service. You can say, monitor my marketplace listing page, and if there's a change, send me an email. So as soon as somebody leaves a new review, you can see it, and you'll get an email from change detection. In fact, most marketplaces won't let you do any kind of monitoring. There's no analytics. You don't know how many people are visiting your listing page. You don't know which buttons they're clicking on. If you're any sort of optimization person, this will be really frustrating to you. It was frustrating to me. I'm like, oh, I don't know. What's my funnel look like here? I don't know how many people are visiting these pages. I don't know how many people are clicking through. In that whole multi-step install process, like sometimes you don't see them until the very end. The Google Apps Marketplace is one notable exception. You could put in a Google Analytics ID, and you'll get some Google Analytics data about your marketplace page. Even though it's being served up by Google.com, you'll see analytics tracking data in your Google Analytics report, which we'll look at in a minute. You'll want to be experimenting to improve your rankings. The rankings are really important in these app marketplaces. I showed you earlier how we got to near the top of the Google Apps Marketplace homepage. Reviews, installs often go into this. You can usually ask the publisher how they do rankings. Generally, they'll give you a sense, but usually they won't tell you directly. They'll never give you their formula. But the formula usually involves something about rankings, the recency of the rankings, installs, uninstalls, and maybe a sort of conversion thing, like how many people who view your listing page actually install it, right? Those are all factors that will probably go into your rank computation. And most of those things you can actually affect, right? You can affect your rankings by making sure, your ratings by asking for good ratings and specifically asking not for bad ratings, right? So you're working to improve those things. And you're experimenting. I'm going to show you an experiment here. I like you to be scientific in your experimentation. Think of an experiment, right? Okay, I'm going to change the name of my listing from Wishery Simple CRM for Gmail to Wishery Put MailChimp in your Gmail, right? A different name, same product, right? I'm going to see if changing the name of it improves installs. Well, make sure you get some control data, how many people were installing based on the old name. Hopefully you've got some visibility into the traffic in some way. Then change the name, note down when you changed it, and then let it run, and then get your data, and then make a decision. An impassionate decision, right? Let the data wins. If the data tells you that one name's better than the other, that's the one that wins, even if you like it less. The data wins. So here in Google, a Google search, because it's the Google Apps Marketplace, Google actually shows the Google Apps Marketplace ranking in Google search results. Now, in most cases, this doesn't happen, but sometimes it does. So already, before somebody has clicked to come to the Google Apps Marketplace, they're already seeing that we've got 56 reviews, and we're averaging 5 stars. That's because all of the reviews are 5 stars, because we specifically asked only for 5-star reviews. Already rankings are helping us. Here, as soon as you land in the Google Apps Marketplace, rankings are helping us. Top right, like people's eyes go to the top right, 5 stars, right? Right here, there's a tab, 56 reviews. As soon as you click on that tab, you see easy to use, incredible, superb, awesome. Right? This is what you want. This is great stuff because it really helps with installs and you can repurpose it. Here's Wishery's website. So this is wishery.com. I just copy and pasted some of those reviews and put them over on the website. Right? We're here above the fold. We're right on the Wishery website. First thing you see, 5 stars. Finally, an app worth having. Makes life easy. I didn't write those reviews for the customers. They're better than what I could have written, right? But I did ask for them. And a number of them I got without asking. the app is also really good, so people give it good reviews. Here's a technique that nobody uses, and I don't know why not, because it's incredibly effective. Maybe you'll call this keyword stuffing, or you'll call it something else. This used to work for search engine optimization. You could put a bunch of keywords on a page that were irrelevant to the page, and you get more traffic to that page because, well, it would rank for them, right? You put, I don't know, free vacation on the page, and anybody, even though you're selling a screen capture utility, if somebody searches for free vacation, they might come to your page because it says free vacation. Well, Google doesn't allow that at all. In fact, they'll penalize you these days if you try to do something like that. But inside the app marketplaces, there is no such penalizing. It doesn't exist yet. So you could do something like this. First of all, in this features section, I've done some sort of key phrases, right? No migration. I've used the word migration. Let's see. Social collaboration. That's a search term. I would never think to type that, but apparently a lot of people think to type social collaboration. So there's some search terms in the sort of top description. And then here at the bottom, coming soon, integration with all of these things, right? This one is on the roadmap to actually integrate with all of these things, but none of them are released. It's just coming soon. I want to integrate with all of these things. The result of that is that if you search for VSAP, QuickBase, Wufoo, Yammer, CountEdge, Bell.com, FreshBooks, Harvest, this shows up in your search results. Even though we don't actually connect with all of those things, it still shows up inside your Google Apps Marketplace search results. And that's a common user behavior, right? Somebody signs up for MailChimp, they sign up for Shopify, they sign up for Google Apps, whatever it is, and then they're like, great, I'm going to pimp my Shopify, right? I want to add stuff to it. So they'll go to the Shopify Marketplace, and they'll say, all right, what else do I use? Well, I use QuickBooks in my business. I use MailChimp for email marketing. I use Microsoft Excel. I use CaptureWiz, right, for my screen captures. Whatever it is, that's a common search behavior in these app marketplaces. Well, if you put CaptureWiz in your listing, well, if somebody searches for it, you're going to show up. And usually the listings, the sort of search rankings in these marketplaces, they're much less competitive than in Google overall, in Google SEO land overall. It's really hard to get onto the first page of a Google search result. It's really easy, actually, to get to the first spot in a app marketplace search result. Not just the first page, but the first rank, the first spot. It can be pretty easy. Now, you could call this keyword stuffing, which has a bad connotation, or you could call it market research. So in the Google Apps Marketplace, if somebody searches for something, because of that Google Analytics integration, you'll see it in a Google Analytics report. So sorry it's hard to read here, but these are the search terms that users use to hit my landing page in the Google Apps Marketplace. And this kind of analytics may be available in other app marketplaces, or you may be able to kind of simulate it with some cleverness. What I discover here is that for 3 of these words that people searched for and then came to my listing, in fact, numbers in terms of popularity, 3, 4, and 6, are all things I don't do. Salesforce integration, Evernote integration, or Highrise integration. I don't have any of those live. This is awesome market research. This means that people in the Google Apps Marketplace are searching for Salesforce. They're searching for Evernote. They're searching for Highrise, right? They're searching for the software they already use to see if they can find something that connects it to Google Apps, which is the new thing they're using, right? If I was thinking about what the next integration I was going to do, this would absolutely go into my figuring, right? But I didn't get access to this data until I did the first integration with Google Apps Marketplace, and there was this nice analytics thing that I could utilize. This doesn't exist in all marketplaces, but you can simulate it depending on the access you get to the data. So for instance, let's say the publisher doesn't have a nice analytics integration, but they will tell you, if you ask them, how many people visited my marketplace page. And I've got a listing on your marketplace. How many people visited it last month? Maybe you can ask them that and maybe they'll tell you. Right? So one month, you have just your regular listing and you haven't used this keyword technique, and you get 1,000 visitors to your page. And you get, 20 installs, right? The next month, you change, right at the beginning of the month, you change your listing to add a bunch of keywords, and now you get 5,000 visitors to your listing. You ask the publisher at the end of that month, how many visits did I get? You might still only get 20 installs, right? Because what you did was you said coming soon, and you don't actually integrate with any of those things, so, right. But what you'll discover is, okay, there is more interest in some of the other things I've added. You could potentially use that to kind of zero in on what people were looking for, right? The only thing I changed was I added the word Salesforce to my app marketplace listing description, right? Coming soon, Salesforce integration, or let us know if you're interested in a Salesforce integration. And now the visits to your app marketplace page have quintupled. That's a good sign that people in that app marketplace are searching for the word Salesforce. And you may want to consider that as your next direction, your next integration. So, there's one other thing here. This last one, number 10, is the search term is migration. Now, Wishery doesn't have anything to do with migration, not really, and it probably never would. But this is kind of interesting that people are looking in the Google Apps Marketplace for migration. They need help with migration. Well, this may give you an idea for a whole new app, right? Oh, well, let's go look in the Google Apps Marketplace. Are there any migration apps? Are they any good? How are their reviews? What are their features? Could I do a better one? Interesting. Or maybe instead of adding a Salesforce integration to your existing app, you want to do a whole new app, right? A whole different one. In general, you don't want to have a wide variety of apps in a given marketplace. You want to focus all the traffic onto one listing page, because that's going to help with installs, that's going to potentially help with rankings, with ratings, and all of that helps with rankings, right? But if your apps are really different, you've got two different apps, you've got a screen capture app, and you decide to do a Twilio phone call app, right? Those are really different. You're probably going to need two different listings, and that's totally okay. But be careful with having many listings in the same marketplace. It's great to have a listing in a bunch of marketplaces. That's a terrific thing to do. And really, in some ways, that's the goal of this whole effort, is to get you to the point where you can have lots of listings in lots of marketplaces, because each marketplace has a different audience, different people are there, and you want to be where they're shopping, right? While they're shopping in lots of different stores, you want to be in all those stores. This process is helping you figure out the first store to get into, and then in turn it helps you figure out how to better get into the next store. It will be easier, faster, more productive for you the next time. Okay, you're in, your people are installing, you're getting 5-star rankings. Now you can invest a little bit. You might be able to spend some social capital to get featured. Often the featured slots are not purely algorithmic. So you want to get on the Google Apps Marketplace homepage? Well, you ask. You don't just get some magical score that gets you there. You actually ask the people that run the Google Apps Marketplace, hey, would you put me on the homepage? They're a lot more likely to say yes if you've got good ratings, you've got good rankings, people are installing your product, and maybe you've done one more thing, which is be helpful, right? Once you've figured out how to integrate with an app, and you now have some knowledge, share it. Be active on the developer mailing list, because the developer mailing list administrators at the publishers are typically the same exact people that decide whether or not you get featured. So be a good citizen, right? Somebody asks a silly question, say, oh, hey, this is how you do it, and here's how it's described in the docs. Try to beat the developer support person to answering the question. It worked for us, right? We were very helpful on the Google Apps Marketplace, the Google Apps Integration Developer Support Mailing List. We were able to answer some tricky technical questions that even Google was having a hard time answering. And it really helped. The people at Google know Wishery. And the moment we said, hey, can we get featured on the homepage? They said, oh yeah, no problem. Now, I didn't ask for that until our install process was great, until we had a bunch of great ratings and rankings, until I had optimized our listings so that I knew it would convert better to actual installs, until I knew the whole install process was absolutely seamless and nobody was going to get stuck in errors. I didn't ask until all of that was in place, and until I'd been a good citizen. And the result was no problem. Same thing at Shopify. We asked, we got featured right away, no problem. You might want to spend money. Some marketplaces will allow you to actually pay them. Salesforce is one of them. You could pay Salesforce and they will improve your ranking or feature you. Constant Contact, I believe, is also one. They don't publish this, but I've seen a few apps get much more heavily featured than others, and they don't, to me, seem like particularly exciting or good, or I don't know why they got featured. The only thing I could figure is maybe they spent some money. But you can also advertise, right? You can spend money with the publisher, but you could also spend money with Google AdWords or buying banner ads or advertising on vertical websites. Particularly if you have a vertically focused app, this can be a great place to advertise this on vertical websites. You've got your dental app. It now integrates with MailChimp for email marketing. Run some banner ads on the dental IT community websites that say, hey, my software now integrates a great service for dental offices, and it connects with Google Apps or MailChimp, which you love. Blog postings, videos, case studies. You're busy, you're a small company, maybe you're just one person, you don't have a lot of time for this. You can often outsource the production of these. You could hire somebody to write you an interesting case study. You'll need to do the legwork in terms of figuring out like who's the customer and what was the use case, that kind of thing. But the actual production of it, you don't necessarily have to write it yourself. And once it's produced, you can co-market it with the publisher. Tell them, hey, I'm thinking about doing a case study. Will you post it on your blog? Right? MailChimp, will you post the case study that I write on your blog? Yeah. Generally, publishers love content that's interesting, relevant, and not too salesy. Right? It's helpful for their audience. Great. They love that stuff. And maybe more features. Remember how we did our minimum viable non-lame product early on, and you just integrated your screen capture with Google Drive? Maybe through this process you've come to realize that, okay, now it's time to add Dropbox, right? Now it's time to invest in an additional feature for my integration, for my app. This would be a good time to consider it. Hopefully somewhere in your app you're soliciting requests for what new features, what do you want to see, what would make you more likely to upgrade? Why did you uninstall? Why did you stop using the product? Hopefully you're asking your users that, and this will help you decide what to build next. So hopefully all of this leads to profit, right? B2B app marketplaces can be a very efficient way to reach and acquire new users, new audiences. Most of them are free. You're not paying anything to be in the app marketplace. You are expending effort for the integration, for managing your rankings, for managing your relationship and promoting it, but you're not spending actual dollars. So getting a return on your effort shouldn't be too hard. And once you do well in an app marketplace, you tend to do even better in the future. Once you get high up in the rankings, you're more prominent, which means more people see you, which means they install you more, which means the install number of the ranking algorithm goes up and up, right? It's sort of the winner, they don't take all, but they take most of it, right? So you're trying to win early because then it becomes less effort to keep winning. And you can do it all again, more profit. The next integration, the next app marketplace you go onto will be easier. You'll know the tech. You'll know what questions to ask for whom. You'll know mistakes not to make. You'll know how to sort of promote it. You can now start doing interesting sort of cross promotions, particularly if the integrations are in similar categories. So Wishery first integrated with MailChimp, and then we added Constant Contact and a few more email marketing services. Now we can say, in general, Wishery works with email marketing instead of specifically it just works with Constant Contact. Whoops. Here's a few resources for you. There's a great section on Google Apps developer support about succeeding in app marketplaces. It's not specific really to the Google Apps marketplace. It's really great advice in general for B2B app marketplaces. At Google I/O 2011, their big developer conference, last year there were a bunch of excellent sessions on being a good app integrator, doing well on the app marketplace. Again, it applies much more broadly than just the Google Apps marketplace. And then I've published this Google spreadsheet that has over 150 potential integration publishers. Publishers, most of them who either have app marketplaces or will probably launch them soon. Many of them have open APIs. This is a good place to start. You can copy this spreadsheet. It's read-only. If you find anything you want to update in it, let me know. I haven't made it editable because I don't know, that could be tricky. But okay, a special offer. Wishery needs a new home. The product I've been telling you about today that I used as my case study here, I built that with a technical co-founder over the past year. And while it was fairly successful, 2,500 domains started the install, 70 paying customers, $6,000 in annual recurring revenue, that's annual. It wasn't quite successful enough for me to keep doing it. So I now have a new position. I now work with this company, New Relic, we do some awesome stuff for application for performance management. So if you have a web app, it'd be great if you could try out New Relic. And as such, Wishery needs a new home. It's a fairly sophisticated app built on Node.js, Ruby on Rails, MongoDB. Google Apps Gmail integration is a little bit tricky, but it works pretty well. It needs a little bit of tuning right now, and I would love to not shut it down. We have a lot of happy, satisfied users. We've got great rankings, and we have a fairly consistent sort of install rate. Help me find a new home. If you're interested in it, get in touch with me. If you know somebody who would be interested in having this app be theirs, maybe you want to rename it, maybe you want to rename your company Wishery, I don't care. Let me know. Here's how to reach me. You can email me, coopermarcus@gmail.com. You can tweet at me, @coopermarcus. This presentation is going to be downloadable. If you want a copy of this, let me know. Email me, give me your card. I'll make sure you get a copy of the deck. Thanks very much. Any more questions or comments or quizzical looks? Are you wondering how this is all going to work for you?
Yeah, basically, you seem really accomplished at this, and
I wasn't a year and a half ago.
yeah, and the quizzical part is that when you know, if I were to rank how, you know, what you've invested versus what I could invest, and then scale the outcome and say, all right, look, you got 6K of revenue now. How much would I get? Oh, geez.
You might get a lot more. I mean,
Yeah, well,
you know,
Well, for example, I have a service, not an app, and I want to reach attorneys, financial, you know, things that you can look up an SIC code for. Dentists, in other words, there are certain businesses that really can use what I have,
Right.
and others don't care.
Right. But it's a service, not an app.
It's a service, not an app.
Okay, so some of these marketplaces welcome service listings. The Constant Contact Marketplace, for instance, you can list as a service provider instead of as a app provider.
Right.
And you know, the line between app and service can start to blur when you get into custom apps and customizable apps, and you know.
Right, but for example, if some marketplace is dealing with a lot of retail places, you know, mutual waste of time.
Absolutely. So that would get filtered out very early in your process, right? Very early in your ranking process. And maybe it would take one email. You find them, you're like, I wonder who the users of this app is, right? Maybe you find retail, an ad management app. What kind of users use this ad management app? We'll just call them and say, hey, do you have a lot of attorneys or do you have a lot of retailers? With one call, you may find out, is this a good integration? Well, is this a good listing candidate because you're not going to do any technical integration, or is it one I should move on from? And the effort level for those types of listings is often much lower. You're not actually doing any programming, right? You're crafting a listing and posting a logo and maybe doing a little promotion, and once you get a joint customer, doing a case study or a blog post, it can be much, much easier to actually get that listing in place. And now, for instance, in Constant Contact, all Constant Contact users that search for lawyer services, whatever it is you offer, hopefully you show up now at the top of the list. It's a great place to be.
I guess let me drill down. I'm wondering how fruitful this is. So let me give you an example. At one point, I had a product idea which was written up in the Wall Street Journal.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and I got 0 sales inquiries,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which told me never in my dreams would I have the money to invest in reaching, putting an ad in the Wall Street Journal. That immediately told me the idea. I switch gears.
Right.
Right. In
Right.
other words, and so here you've got #1 position. You've got values. You've done everything, and the outcome is modest.
The outcomes, yes.
I think you've really nailed a lot of stuff.
Well, let me give you some counterexamples. So
Okay.
there's an app in the Google Apps Marketplace that's higher ranked than we are. Now, we're number one featured, or we are featured on the homepage, which required an editorial decision, but we are not in the top 10 install volume. The top 10 install volume apps on the Google Apps Marketplace get 1,000 to 3,000 installs per week. So 1,000 to 3,000 businesses per week are installing those apps. One of those companies, run by a guy I know, recently got acquired by Salesforce for somewhere on the order of $50 million. And they were installing 1,000 businesses a week, and primarily they were getting them on the Google Apps Marketplace. I was not actually successful. I was successful at getting good rankings and good ratings. I was not successful at generating a ton of revenue. Their app is a different app. Their app is a team project management app. Every single business needs a team project management app. My app is a sort of integrating, simple CRM that sits inside Gmail. It's hard to even describe, let alone figure out who it's for. It appeals to a smaller audience, or at least it appeals in a less direct way. You can have massive success on these app marketplaces, particularly at the scale we're dealing, right? Like 6, 10, 20K annual recurring revenue additional for what may only be a few weeks of work on your part or less. That could be good. I'd probably take that again. If I did all this again, it would be much less work. And that's the point of this presentation, is to take a lot of the wasted effort out of your approach. If you follow this simple 11-step strategy, it won't be that much work, and the results will be, the results will be appropriate for your app and audience and price point, and they will vary, of course. But overall, in terms of reaching customers, I'm a big believer in the power of these app marketplaces compared to the internet in general, compared to Google search in general, compared to AdWords in general, compared to print advertising in general, compared to all the other ways you can get in front of customers. I think B2B app marketplaces are the number one underutilized technique and channel, and they're the best setup for future success, right? The more we buy apps here on these, the more likely we are to go look for our business apps in these app marketplaces. And if you're not there, you will not be found. Getting there, not too tough, so try it out maybe. Did you have a question back there? Right. Anybody else? All right.
I just want to thank you for figuring that all out. That was a lot of work. That's really on a call.
You're welcome. It's, this is, even though these app marketplaces, these B2B app marketplaces, have some of them been around for a while. I mean, Salesforce's app marketplace, the App Exchange, I think has been around for 6 years, which in internet land is like ancient history. This is still underexplored territory with way too little of this kind of advice available. You won't find something like this out on the internet, how to succeed in a B2B app marketplace. Now, the consumer app marketplaces, particularly the mobile ones, like, there's 500, 600,000 apps in the iOS app marketplace. There's a ton of people that'll tell you how to succeed in there, and mostly it's extremely difficult. In most of these B2B app marketplaces, in most of them, there's less than 100 listings in each marketplace, total. You are in at the beginning here, and so you have an opportunity to do great. And there will never be 600,000 in any of these ones we're talking about. So you'll never get to that level of competition nor reach. All right, thanks everybody.